Looks like it works. See if we can get through here. A lot of traffic. Not too bad. What do you know? We made it through here without a conflict. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about today's ride and talk subject. Now, I like to try to do a ride and talk every day. Today, what are we going to talk about? I want to talk a little bit about mental health. Yes, mental health. Why do I want to talk about that? Because I believe that a lot of the problems that people are having are related to mental health. Think about this. Think about a person who has physical health problems. Okay. What kind of problems can you have? I mean, you could have aches and pains. You could be tired. You could just not feel well. I wasn't feeling 100% over the weekend. I don't know if I was catching some kind of germ or if my diet just wasn't 100%. I haven't been eating the beef that I was. I've basically almost gotten off of it. I've gone into very small amounts of beef. I can definitely feel the difference. Not like what it was, but just had a general lack of energy, starting to get a slight headache. Just didn't have the get up and go that I normally do. And of course the weather was an issue, the constant rain, trying to get things done and not being able to do it. So I decided, let me make a couple changes, and as you know, I added sauerkraut when I eat pork. Pork is not the highest quality meat, but I've had to replace beef with pork because it's affordable and it is flavorful. So I added sauerkraut to the pork, and in 2 days, everything came back to normal. I feel just fine again. Again, I don't know if it was a flu or whatever, but when I wasn't feeling 100%, my motivation was gone. I just didn't feel like doing anything. Now, Saturday morning, which was within that period of time that I wasn't feeling 100%, I still had Live at 8 with Rick. And I went ahead and did it. That was at least 5 hours. So, look at the iguanas. Hello, iguana. Look at that iguana. Come here, Mr. Iguana. Okay, let's see. See the iguana? Now he's facing the other way. That one's going for the canal. Well, this one sure is brave. There he goes. All right. I could have shot that one if I had my crossbow. Oh well, no big deal. Anyway, so I wasn't feeling 100%. And I began to think, is this the way the average person feels? Yep, we got a leaf in here. Get that out of there. It's like when you're a kid, you put cards on your wheel to make it sound like a motorcycle. Anyway, so without the normal amount of energy that I have and desire to do things, I pretty much sat down in the living room, ate some food, and watched some YouTube. I did a couple things around the house. I went through a box of parts and I got hardly anything done. Eventually, after my live, I decided, let me go for a bike ride. Maybe that'll get me going again. I went for a bike ride. Still, just didn't feel that great. So I started to think, what in the world would I do if I felt that way all the time? And it became really kind of a eye-opening experience. So that Saturday, I decided to change my diet a little bit. That's when I started adding the sauerkraut. Now again, I don't know if that's what did it or I was catching some kind of germ, my fingers hurt a little bit, and even my feet hurt a little bit. So it seemed almost like I was catching that flu that's going around. But anyway, by Monday, yesterday, I felt great. Looks like the turnpike's a little slow today. Well, I don't have to worry about that. I'm on the old bicycle. This road isn't too bad. Now, when I feel better, oh, baby iguana, when I feel better, I started to think a little bit more. It's like, all right, Rick, here's a question. If you feel sort of unmotivated, is that because you're sick or because you're unmotivated, does it make you feel sick? Well, I came to the conclusion it was a physical thing, whether it was a virus I picked up for somebody else or my diet wasn't on point. It was definitely a physical issue. And the interesting thing is, as soon as I started to feel physically better, my usual energetic self, I started doing things again, and I got to the usual way that I feel, like there's just not enough hours in the day. The day goes by very, very quickly for me most of the time. I'm always kind of frustrated that I don't have more time. There's so many things I'd like to do, and I can't do it. So, with that in mind, I've been looking at the experience that some of the other people on YouTube, the so-called carnivore influencers, have had. Now, there's several of them there. You have the prominent ones, the ones that have their sort of, I don't know what you call it, mutual admiration societies, their clubs, their groups, whatever. Then you have the other ones. They have moderate YouTube channels. They may have 5, 10, 15,000 people that watch them. But then they have their ups and downs. There's also people that they're in the 10 to 50,000 range, maybe almost 100,000 subscribers, and they have their ups and downs. They seem to be popular because one day they can say, well, I'm trying this. Another day, well, that didn't work. I'm trying this, and oh, I'm giving up. Oh, I'm going to do this instead. And they have all these changes that they keep making, which, again, I think it just adds to the drama, which increases views. In general, people like that, where you have struggles, and then you have success, then you have failure. It's like back and forth. Well, I think when these channels become a little bit stagnant, these creators are looking for a way to increase interaction. And the best way to do that is to create controversy. So you might start seeing people in the carnivore community adding back carbohydrates. It might be like Fruit and Honey Boy. Well, I'm going to eat fruit and honey, or I'm going to add this carbohydrate or that carbohydrate, or maybe I'm going to change the type of meat that I eat. I'm not just going to eat beef all the time. Maybe I'm going to add seafood. Maybe I'm going to, I don't know, add iguana. No, that's not going to happen. But you get a lot of people out there, and they come up with these ideas. They attract attention. Well, now you have people that are obviously, they're trying to get the benefits of the carnivore diet. Things such as better general health, more energy, and obviously, what's one of the number one things that people look for? That's right, weight loss. Now, some of us, you listen to the guy that's a prime example of it, never want to lose weight. That is the one thing I will never want to do. I would like to gain weight. But I shouldn't say weight, because I don't want to be fat. I came to the conclusion I'd rather be skinny than be fat. So I'm built like a toothpick. I take my shirt off. People think I'm a vegan. But I would rather be like this, even though I don't look that great because of the fact that it doesn't affect my ability to do work or ability to enjoy life. I can do whatever I want. I don't have any aches or pains. I feel really good. I really appreciate being skinny. When I was younger, I hated being skinny. And I think one of the things that really changed that is because when I was young and skinny, I was also very short. But once I became extremely tall, I mean, I'm 6'6". When you're as tall as I am, it doesn't matter if you're skinny. You don't have to be a muscular guy to get attention. Everyone looks at you whether you want it or not. Because when you're this tall, you're in the very, very small percentage of the population. And because of that, and being able to do whatever I need to without any problems, it's worked out well. But there are people in the carnivore community, and you know who you are, that are very self-conscious about their appearance. And one of the number one complaints that you hear about is someone who has gained too much weight. This person is overweight or obese. They may or may not feel good, but on the other hand, they're probably going to be self-conscious about being too fat. Now, there are several people that are fat in the carnivore community. You probably know one of them, my good friend, usually on Tuesday night. He's fat and he admits it. What the hell is this person doing? Anyway, there's a lot of fat people in Miami. But the fact is this. Just because somebody's fat doesn't necessarily mean they're unhealthy. And I've known several people over my lifetime that although they were or are fat, they're otherwise fine. So if you're going to take on a diet like the carnivore diet, or even another version of Whole Foods diet, you might even be able to do it with a plant-based diet. You're going to be eating natural foods that don't disagree with your body, and you may be overweight, but you're going to have plenty of energy, and you're going to feel relatively good. Is it really that important to be thin? I would say no, it's not. You don't really need to be thin to be satisfied. Now, what about the people that will do anything to become thin? They'll take medicines like Ozempic or Wegovy, or they'll do something really ridiculous, like have their stomach cut up and rerouted. Well, I see they're already getting the old feed store ready for some new business, which I have no idea what it's going to be. But anyway, and there's a Tesla dumpster. Look at that. Got a dumpster right there. There's a Tesla dumpster. That one actually looks better with the stainless steel panels. It's still kind of a funny looking vehicle. It just looks like a big box on wheels. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, you have all these people that are self-conscious. It's like the people that get plastic surgery. They worry about little wrinkles here and there. I know women, they go and they get their lips pumped up so they look like a clown. They get Botox so they can't move their face to try to reduce the wrinkles. I'm like, oh, that's fine. But what about the turkey neck? You still have a turkey neck. Well, maybe they'll get that done with a facelift. But then the rest of the body is like crap. You have no muscle tone. You're not really fit in any way. And I said, you know what? You'd be better eating a better diet, getting some more strength, maybe working out, doing something. Even if your face is rough looking, if your body looks good, I think in many ways that might be an improvement. But everybody wants a quick fix. Everybody wants the magic pill. They want some type of instant gratification. So let's say that you're too fat. You want to lose weight fast. Well, guess what? You're not going to try to use self-control or try to work your way through it the hard way. All you got to do, go to the doctor, make an appointment, and they're going to poke some holes in your fat belly, and they're going to rearrange your digestive system in a way that you can only eat a small amount. Wow. Real smart. Now that's probably okay if you're a duck food eater and you're grazing all the time. But if you're one of those people that's on the carnivore diet, that's actually a really bad idea, because meat starts being digested in your stomach. If your stomach is smaller, wouldn't that affect how much food you could get in there and how much acid you could produce? So you might end up getting nutritional deficiencies, all in the name of being thinner. And the problem is, even if you do get thinner, does that really fix the underlying issue? The fact that anybody would want to get weight loss, gastric bypass surgery does not really seem to be a physical issue. Now, again, it depends on the person. Some people are definitely in a critical situation where their body is basically ready to tip over the edge at any time. But in some cases, they're otherwise healthy. A person who's able to work and do whatever they need to, but then has to go and get some surgery to try to get thinner, doesn't make any sense. And there's always regrets that go with it. Got some big dogs over there. I wasn't sure if that was a man or a woman. Interesting. So, what people tend to forget, and I'm not sure why they forget this, most of these surgeries are not reversible. If you go and you get one of those gastric bypass surgeries, it's not something you can just shut down and say, well, I didn't like the results, so I'm going to go ahead and reverse it. Well, probably could, but you're never going to get back to what you had. That's the problem. Whenever you use drastic medical intervention like surgery, it's not reversible. You see people that have had a heart attack or other medical issues, they always have a scar. You can always tell where it was. I mean, look at what happened with Mitch and his brain injury. They did brain surgery, and most likely there was scar tissue there. It led to a weakness and a stroke. We all have maybe some scars from previous accidents as a kid that never really goes back to what it was originally. So if you're thinking about getting surgery to correct something that might not even really be a physical problem, it's a mental issue, is that really the smart way to go? I don't know. I can't say. But it's a little something to think about. So if you're one of those people that's really self-conscious and you say, well, I need to lose weight, I'm going to do it at any cost. I'm going to go and get some, what's in the dumpster? I'm going to get some surgery. I'm going to get the bypass or whatever else you're going to do. And that's just one of those things that a lot of people get into. I knew a man that did that back in the late 90s, and he was a friend of my business partner, and he struggled for quite some time. He lost weight initially, but then gained it all back and more due to just grazing all day. And actually, I think the constant grazing, everywhere he went, he'd find something to, as he put it, grab a bite, which usually meant fast food. And we all know that fast food is unhealthy. What do we got in this dumpster? Oh, a lot of tree garbage. So, it didn't solve the problem. Now again, is that true for everybody? Maybe not. I don't know. But I'm not an expert. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a nobody. I'm just a regular person who looks at what other people have done and the results that they've had. And I can see that in many ways, those results, they haven't been that good. So what I think, before you make a decision that is basically permanent, it's like when somebody gets a tattoo. They might want to get one. Seems like a good idea at the time. When they're a teenager, 20-something, when you get to be 40-something or 50-something, that tattoo, it doesn't look so good. So whenever you make those decisions, you need to understand there are consequences to everything. Somebody planted a gumbo limbo tree. You could do the same thing by sticking a branch in the ground. So anyway, what should you do? That's up to you. But my point is this. You can't fix mental issues with surgery. I mean, if you had a brain injury, I'm sure you could do that. But I'm talking about mental issues that have developed over time. It's like if a person gets plastic surgery. You've seen these women that look like some kind of a freak. They start off with a little plastic surgery, and it's never enough. Like I said, the same thing with people with tattoos. They get a few, it's never enough. Even some of the bodybuilders, they start taking anabolic steroids, they get bigger, they look better, but then there comes a point in time where it's just not enough. So they got to keep getting bigger and bigger until they destroy themselves. It's the same thing when it comes to surgery. Now, again, if you had an injury or trauma, you get surgery to fix that. It's like you get a hernia or you get some type of car accident, broken arm, whatever. You need surgery, you get it, and it will help you. But on the other hand, if you do it just because you want to look better, not so good. All right. Again, mental issues cannot be fixed with a scalpel. You might be able to manage them chemically, but really when it comes down to it, it's a long process, and in some cases, you can't even do it. In some cases, you just have to live with it. You have to learn how to manage the condition. But that's my view. I'm a nobody. You don't have to listen to me, and most people don't. If you'll notice in the carnivore community, not a lot of people listen to me. You'll see me on some channels, but other channels, you'll never see me. There's some pretty well-known channels that they never have me on. If anyone knows, maybe you can give me a list of the popular carnivore channels and let me know which ones have not interviewed me. I have a pretty good idea of who they are, but I think it would be kind of interesting for my viewers to share their view. Anyway, well, there's Harbor Freight. All I got to do now is make it across this intersection, and I'll get there eventually. I hope. Problem is, the light's already changed, which I hate when that happens. Now I got to wait it out. Oh well, there's another cyber junk. Okay, we can go through here. Okay. I don't remember which direction this goes in. Oh well. For a road that goes nowhere, and it goes nowhere, there's an awful lot of traffic. This other group, there we go. ridiculous. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a good day. And I'll catch you next time.